10 tips to make your flying experience less stressful. Let's go. What's up, guys? Welcome back. My name is Nick. I love making travel videos, and so today I wanted to talk with you guys about some things that you can do to make your flying experience as stress-free as possible. I'm actually coming to you today from the Palm Springs area in California, specifically Indio, California. We flew in yesterday to LAX from Portland. It was actually a pretty smooth experience, and so I thought that this would be an appropriate time to make a video outlining some things that I picked up along the way that just makes, I found, for me, somebody who worries a lot, who stresses a lot, I picked up some tips along the way that just makes things a little easier on the mental health rather than just the wallet. Because if you're like me, you'll usually go to a third-party aggregator site like Kayak, you'll go ahead and filter your flights by the cheapest, and you'll go from there doing everything you can to penny pinch. We didn't necessarily do that this time, so I thought it would be actually a good time to share some tips to make things easier on your mental health and your stress level. So without further ado, let's jump in and talk about some of this. Number 1, book a reliable airline that tends to be on time. If you're like me, when you're looking for a flight, you tend to filter by price from lowest to highest, and that's how you end up on a Spirit Airlines flight. Very well, may not be leaving on time. And look, we all pick on Spirit Airlines, but you can replace them with, Frontier, Allegiant, SunCountry. We're talking about pretty much the same thing, right? Anyway, it's important to keep in mind that the cheapest airlines are typically not the most reliable. So when you're trying to decide which airline to book with, really think about what it will do to your stress level if there are last-minute delays, cancellations, or involuntary bumps. Of course, sometimes these delays, cancellations, or gate changes are the result of something outside of the airline's control, like the weather or even the airport itself in some cases. But if we're being honest, we know that some airlines have a reputation. By the way, in case you were wondering, multiple studies that I read from 2021 had Delta ranked as the most reliable airline in the US. That is, the least cancellations, delays, and involuntary bumps. Also, my favorite airline personally is Alaska, and it's what I fly the most, and I've never had issues with them either. Finally, it is important to keep in mind that as we ascend from this global pandemic, the airline industry and workforce in general is still pretty screwed up and not back to normal yet. So I feel like I've been reading about more work stoppages, strikes, disagreements with unions, and that kind of thing. Therefore, lots of cancellations and delays recently because of that. And even more so than normal with the reliable carriers as well. Number 2, book direct or nonstop flights when possible. This one's probably pretty obvious, but it's worth mentioning anyway. Try to book flights that are either direct or nonstop, and no, those aren't the same thing. A direct flight will make a stop, but unlike with a layover or connection, you don't have to change planes and your flight number will be the same. Some people will get off, some new people will get on, but otherwise you'll continue on to your destination. A nonstop flight is pretty self-explanatory. But anyway, the key here is to avoid layovers when possible. Not only is it possible to miss your connecting flight if your first flight is delayed or canceled, but even if you make it, you still may be rushing from one end of the airport to the other in a very short amount of time, and there is no guarantee your checked bags will be flying with you. If you do book a trip with stops or layovers, I definitely tend to look for layovers that are at least 90 minutes to 2 hours, just to reduce the risk of not making my connecting flight. Sure, it can be a little boring to have a lot of time between flights, but I would rather have that time to wander around, read a book, or grab food and not feel any stress. Number 3, book directly with the airline. Now I know, this one may seem a little counterintuitive to some of you, but let me explain. Sure, we know that bundling through third-party sites like Expedia or Priceline can often save money, and there's also a point to be made that booking your flight, hotel, and car all together with just a few clicks can bring down the stress level, but there are issues that can come from doing this, which can cause huge headaches later. For example, third-party bundles, which sometimes are cheaper, are less flexible, and you become less of a priority to the airline. For example, I once booked an economy seat through Alaska, and wasn't able to select a seat while checking out because I did it through a third-party site. I think it was Expedia. Instead, I had to wait to be assigned a seat at the gate, and not knowing what kind of seat you're going to be stuck with is not the recipe to flying stress-free. Secondly, if you have a problem with your booking or you need to change something, you may be redirected to the third-party customer service to fix the problem, if they even can. This is a great opportunity to be passed back and forth between the airline and the booking site without your issue being resolved. And if it is resolved, it probably won't be done in a timely manner. Oh, and even if they do resolve it, you may be subject to additional change or cancellation fees above and beyond what just the airline would be charging. Finally, airlines will often have special deals and promotions on their website that may not show up elsewhere. So it's not actually a given that a third-party site will be cheaper anyway. You can often find the cheapest price on the actual airline website itself. And I also want to add that there are some airlines that don't even show up on the third-party sites. And I think one of those is Southwest. I will often search on Expedia or Kayak, and a lot of times Southwest doesn't show up on those. So something else to keep in mind. Number 4, pack lightly, at least as much as possible. Nothing is more stressful than hauling too many bags around with you through the airport and on and off the airplane. So try to pack efficiently, using as few bags as possible. The cheapest option is usually going to be to try and pack everything into a carry-on and a small personal item. This is an even better option if your flight has multiple legs and there is a higher chance of a checked bag not reaching the same destination as you. But, and this is 100% my opinion, if you can't fit everything into a carry-on but can fit everything into a larger piece of luggage, I would consider ditching the carry-on and instead just check the bag, especially if you're on a direct flight with a low chance of your bag getting lost. Remember, you can always bring plain essentials on board in your personal item like a purse or backpack, but there's something magical about tagging and handing over your bag as soon as you arrive at the airport and not having to drag it through security around the airport and on and off the plane. No overhead storage to worry about either. It's something we did this time when we flew down to California, and it made for a really easy airport experience, especially having young kids along with us. But I get it, a lot of people swear by just sticking with the carry-ons, so let me know what you think in the comments about that. Number 5, download airline or entertainment apps at home. This may not be a huge deal depending on what airline you fly, but I know multiple airlines require that you have your own Wi-Fi capable device in order to access the in-flight entertainment, like a smartphone, tablet, or a laptop. If you need to download a special app for the in-flight entertainment, or if you want to download some movies or shows that you can watch without an internet connection, I would strongly suggest doing this at home prior to your trip. It's probably best to research or call the airline ahead of time if you aren't sure what kind of in-flight entertainment they have. For example, I've heard that several of Delta's aircraft still roll with the screens on the back of the seats, so aside from some plug-in headphones, you don't need to bring anything else in that case. Alaska and Spirit, however, require your own device to access their TV and movie libraries. And I say do it at home because I've waited until I'm at my gate waiting for my flight to do it. And even though PDX, Portland International, has Wi-Fi throughout the entire airport, public internet often is unsecured and also not suitable for downloading large files, so it was a major fail trying to do it at the airport. Number 6, print out your boarding pass and other important documents. Look, I absolutely love that I can download a QR code boarding pass now and add it to my Apple Wallet on my phone, and I do that. I also have gotten pretty good about labeling my travel confirmation emails in my Gmail so that I can access all of them with just a couple taps on my phone. This more or less makes it to where I could survive a trip without printing off a single piece of paper, but you know what? I still kill those trees anyway. I still try to remember to print off all my travel related documents and my boarding passes so that I have copies of them with me. After all, paper doesn't get a dead battery at inopportune times, nor does it shatter if you drop it on the floor. Your phone can, however, do those things, and so while I like using my phone for as many things as possible now, I found it's still worth the peace of mind to also have hard copies of everything. Number 7, check in early for flights, often 24 hours before. Check in as early as possible for your flight. Nowadays, this usually means doing it online 24 hours before your flight. This will give you the best selection if you still need to pick or change your seat, if you want to upgrade to a better seat or class, and checking in earlier will supposedly, so I've heard, make it less likely that you'll be the victim of an involuntary bump too. When you check in online, you can print or download your boarding pass right then and there, and potentially skip the ticketing counter altogether once you arrive at the airport. Number 8, arrive early to the airport. Be sure to arrive early to the airport. I always shoot for arriving 2 hours early myself. If there's one thing I've learned about airports, it's that you can never quite predict how long it will take to find parking, wait in line for security, or your pre-flight coffee at Starbucks. This also allows for time to react if something goes completely sideways. No lie, my wife once realized while driving to the airport that she forgot her driver's license at home. She had to turn around to come get it. In this case, planning for that extra time allowed her to still make it back to the airport in time to catch her flight. But anyway, I don't think this one needs a whole lot of explanation. It's some of the same reasons I like the longer layovers that I mentioned before. Airports and airlines are not always predictable, so giving yourself the most flexibility once you arrive is a key ingredient to stress-free flying. Number 9, get TSA PreCheck. Speaking of security lines, I would highly recommend investing in a TSA PreCheck membership if you live in the US, or a comparable program if you live outside of the US. TSA PreCheck allows you to get through airport security with ease by paying a fee of $85 for a 5-year membership and submitting to a background check and fingerprints. This program assigns you a known flyer ID number that you can print on your boarding pass when you fly, which allows you to go to a separate and often shorter security line, and it often moves a lot quicker as well, I would add. When going through security, you will likely not be required to remove your shoes, belt, or light jacket, nor will you have to remove your laptop or other electronics from your bag. Basically, you can turn back the clock on your airport security experience to ancient times before 9/11. A couple other things to note is that if you have PreCheck, kids under the age of 13 can go through with you with ease. My wife took our daughter and nephew through security when we flew down here the other day, and it was amazingly simple and stress-free. And finally, if an $85 fee has you freaking out, check your credit card benefits, because some travel-friendly credit cards will reimburse your PreCheck application fee if you charge it to your card. We use our Capital One Venture card for travel expenses, and so when my wife got PreCheck because of all the flying she does for work, Capital One reimbursed us. I'm in the process of applying for PreCheck as well for myself, as well as our 13-year-old son, so that all 4 of us can enjoy a stress-free TSA experience when we travel moving forward. And number 10, go through security ASAP. Lastly, I always try to go through security as quickly as possible. The way I think of it, in my head at least, is once I've made it through security and have found my gate, I've done my job and can now sort of take it easy and just wait. I don't have to worry about what's in my bag, if half my tube of toothpaste is going to get confiscated by TSA, we've all been there, or if I'm going to be late and miss my flight. Most airports should have plenty of restrooms, shopping, food, and convenience stores post-security, so unless your airport is one that doesn't, I really don't know why you would wait. In Las Vegas, there are even clusters of slot machines post-security that you can kill time playing. Personally, I quite enjoy when I have an hour or so to just hang out by the gate, explore the airport, or grab a meal without having to worry about being late, and while it can be a bit boring if I'm at an airport or section of an airport where there isn't much to do, I'm not going to be stressed at all. It just makes for a much more enjoyable experience. Alright guys, well that's the video today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you got something out of it. Hope you found it useful or entertaining at least. If you like this kind of video, it's a bit of a different style from what I've done in the past, but if you enjoyed it, if you just hit that like button, I would really appreciate that. Leave a comment down below. Your question today is, what do you think about these tips? Do you agree with them? Do you disagree with them? Do you have any of your own to add to help out your fellow travelers? If so, make sure you comment and leave those down below. So anyway, guys, with that said, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.